Hello everyone, we are Let's Make Art and I'm Nicole Miyuki and I am here to teach you lettering. And this one, what we are doing is a bonus project. So we have a subscription box where we letter, we can paint too. We letter a different project every week and I'm here to guide you through it. We've been going through paper projects and this one we are going to be doing, it's brown paper, but I'm just kidding, it's a journal. So this is included if you have our subscription box, you'll find this. If you don't have this exact one, it's okay. Just find a blank journal and we're gonna decorate it and make it your own. So in this one, there are 4 different supplies. Well, I don't know, I can count. There's a lot of different supplies actually for this one, but the main one that I want you to focus on is that I'm going to be introducing you all to a different brush pen. So what we've been using before, I don't have one on me, but we've been using the Tombow dual brush pens. Actually, pause. You can choose to edit that out.
I won't.
Okay, I found one. I just wanted to show you for size differences is we've been using this guy, which has a really big tip, and what we're going to use and what I want you to practice with is this guy, which is called the Tombow Fudenosuke. I hope I'm saying that right. I tried, I practiced. That's what we're using. And the reason why is because I wanted to show that if you have a smaller surface, because this is compared to, I mean, this is an 8.5 by 11 paper. It's a smaller surface, so if you want, you can use a smaller pen. The other part that's a little bit different than the other projects we've been doing together is we're going to be using graphite paper. So instead of a light box, which I'll go through in the different steps, we're going to be using that graphite paper. That's also included in your box. I'm going to use an eraser, a pencil, and then practice paper. So I like to use the computer paper that I'm going to be using is the HP Premium Choice LaserJet. Oh, and there are also a few handouts that I made that will help guide you. If you don't have our box, like I said, you can just go to our website, letsmakeart.com, and the lettering section, and you'll find that there. So that is everything that we're going through. Then there are 5 steps I'm going to be going through to guide you through to get to your final project. The first one is getting to know your brush pen. The second one is the foundation strokes. Actually, that's not the second step. The second step is I'm gonna introduce you to thumbnail sketches and how I use that to help figure out my layout. The third one is I'm gonna show you a couple different ways to do cool different leaf borders. The fourth one is the graphite paper and getting your design onto the final project. And then the 5th one is the brush pen. So those are the 5 different steps. So let's get started. First thing is, like I said, is getting to know your brush pen. So using my practice computer paper I created this guide so that you can see these are the foundation strokes. If you are new to this, which one is it? I think it's the 3rd one. There's in our beginner lettering series, there's one that goes over the foundation strokes a lot more in detail. So if this is all new to you, you can go through and practice that first. But I wanted to create this so that you can just warm up with this to get to know this guy because, like I said, it's a different pen that we're using. So we're still gonna go thin on the up and thick on the down. Also, I should say, if you have any smaller brush pen, you can totally go through that. You don't have to have this exact one. This is just one that I really like. So thick on the down, thin on the up. Where in contrast, if I were to use the thicker one that we've been using, the Tombow dual brush pens, it would just be a bigger stroke because it's a bigger brush pen. So practice those a couple times. So thin on the up, thick on the down, thin on the up. So these are all the basic strokes that will help guide you when you go to your letters. So thin on the up, thick on the down, thin on the up. If you're wondering why I'm saying thin on the up, thick on the down, that's also one of the beginning hand lettering series that you can learn, and you'll know why I'm saying that. But what's happening is it's when my hand is moving up, it's a thin line, and when my hand is moving down, it's a thick line. And I'm creating that through pressure. So thin on the up, thick on the down, thin on the up. The other thing that you can experiment with is how you grip it. So if you grip like this, that's totally okay. If you grip like this, I've seen all different grips. What I want you to make sure you have is that you're in control. So I tend to grip a little bit closer to the tip rather than up higher, because it's a lot harder for me to control and make a movement. That is, I feel myself cramping right here, whereas that was an exaggeration. But if I'm gripping a lot closer, I feel grounded and supported. So thick on the down, thin on the up. And if you are left-handed, what you can do is I would tilt your paper and you can practice like that. I'll do a few just to show. So what I learned is that if I come from the side, it's a lot easier, and I'm gonna grip closer. So thick on the down, thin on the up. So it's the same thing if you want. And the beautiful thing is that you don't have to worry about smearing in this, because I just wrote that and it's totally still dry. So you can practice that, lefties, you can do that. I'm going to keep going. So I also created, so the quote that we're doing is, okay, let's do this. And I realize I say that, so that's why I wanted to do this on this, and it helps because in this notebook you can write any of your notes that we're learning together, or this can just be your personal journal, whatever you want.
Maybe even a sketchbook.
Or, well, there's lines.
Well, you can ignore the lines.
That's true. Actually, yeah, I'll draw outside the lines. Anyways, I was just thinking things in my head. So you can totally do, if you want to do the same quote, I want to guide you through to how I decided to do that. I should also mention you'll hear Keenan in the background, and you guided me. Thank you. You guided me. Okay, so what I was saying was that I wrote this out so that you can see where I broke it up, because hand lettering is different than cursive. So I am not going to draw, if I were to draw this same thing, I'm going to draw it up here really fast and not think about it, that would be my cursive and it would look like that. But I want you to do is remember thick on the down and thin on the up, and we're going to do that by breaking it up into different strokes. So all of these strokes, that's why it's helpful to practice it, because you can see. So what I did was I left a little bit of room in between, but what I want you to do is just connect that all. This was just to help guide you. So the O is just one stroke. So thick on the down, thin on the up. I'm going to connect this whole thing. And then go thick on the down for that. And then this, the K is a little bit different. So I wanted to show this because I actually do it in 2 strokes, but if you want, you can go 1, 2, and you can break it up. So the A is a C, and then this first, or the second stroke, which is a line down. And then the Y, the first part of the Y is the same exact stroke as this, but I'm just going to extend that, the end a little bit more. Actually, I'm going to extend this so it connects like that. So thick on the down, thin on the up, and then here's a J. So thick on the down, thin on the up. Even though it's a Y, but the J is what makes up the second half of the Y. So I'm going to do thin on the up, thick on the down. Again, break it up and go slow and take it in piece by piece and all the different foundation strokes. I wanted to talk about one thing is the S. So a typical cursive S is like that. And I wanted to show, this is a different one. This is how I actually tend to do my S's. So you can see the final ones here. It's personal preference. Some people don't like it because sometimes it doesn't connect exactly, which to me is totally fine. It doesn't need to always connect. But I do it all in one stroke like that. I think it just has a little bit of different personality. I would always cross the T's at the end, which is why I left it like that for you. So you can play with when you're doing the T's is you can choose to either cross it like that, or you can choose, I'm gonna do it on this one, is you can curve it. So you can choose, those are different ways to mix it up. I'll finish this out. So thin on the up, thick on the down. So it's a C and then an L shape. And then if you notice, if you look really closely, these, because I've been pushing so hard, can you see that okay, Keaton? Kinda? So. Okay, well what's happening is that it's because I'm pushing so hard, it's creating this point that's kind of pointing up. So if that happens, maybe you just start writing and flip it over. So now it's pointing down, but I'm pushing it back kind of in that direction. So these are super flexible. You can kind of mold it, but if you notice that over time you're writing and it starts to coming up a little, just flip it a little bit and then write it like that. So that's practice. Get to know your brush pen first. That is step 1. Step 2 is we're gonna go through, my practice paper's right here. We're gonna go through some thumbnail sketches. So thumbnail sketches are pretty much essentially a smaller version of your final one. So it's not exactly the size of your thumb. It
It's
can
a little
be.
misleading.
I know, it can be, but I can't draw that small. So they're just meant to be smaller versions of the final one. And the reason why I like to do that is because I think there's a common misconception that you're supposed to have it perfect on the first try. And if you did the project before, the quote was done is better than perfect. So again, this goes right into that. But we're trying to figure out and create and design what your final look is going to be, rather than this is just my handwriting, this is the way I do it. So I like to draw them smaller rather than taking the time to make it all really big and perfect on the first one. So with that, what you can do is you can draw yourself a guide so I made this like a horizontal because it's a similar shape to this. And what you can do is figure out if my quote is okay, let's do this. Let's pretend that I haven't done this yet. And my quote is okay, let's do this. This is my handwriting. Oh, I missed a word. Okay, let's do this. So there's 4 words. So what if I try and make everything or each word on its own line? Okay, let's do this. Because it's a vertical. If it was horizontal, then maybe I would try and do it all in one line. But because it's a vertical space that we're dealing with, that's why I wanted to try that. So that's an option. Or what if let's do on one line and then this is on its own. Okay, let's do this. So 3 lines. Or I want to see if I move and then do this on its own line. So I moved the do here. So this is just kind of figuring out the layout. I like looking at this. Actually, this is cool too. I like this one and I want to add the date. So I like how that looks if I add it. It just feels very symmetrical. So I'm gonna do that one. So from there, once I choose that, what you can do is you can draw it, if you wanna draw it a little bit nicer and a little bit bigger. So maybe I take it a little bit slower. When I'm doing this, oh, wow, can't spell this. Okay,
It's a
so
tough word. Don't get down on yourself.
oh, thanks. Oh yeah, I got mad at you last time. Won't get down on myself. So now when I'm looking at this, what I have been saying is that I want you guys to take a step back and look at what you're dealing with, because there's so many different, you're kind of puzzling it together and seeing what parts of the letter you can play with. When I look at this, I notice a few things. So one of them is that I noticed that, I extended my Y really low so it hits the top of my S. So what you can do is you can make this a little bit shorter. So again, this isn't a perfect sketch, but I just want to show you is this can just be a little bit higher so then it doesn't hit that exactly. And then the other thing that I noticed, because I've been doing this for a while so I can see this and I just want to show you what my eye sees, is that I actually, with K's, actually I'm going to draw it here again. Draw it a little bit slower. So with K's is sometimes you can connect them like that, but with a K, it's kind of one of the few letters in the alphabet that has this sharp down and then up. I guess a V does, but that's one stroke. So it creates this awkward shape, whereas these connections are very more curved like that versus this. So whenever I do that, sometimes I don't really connect all my letters. And actually, I realize that it works perfect because okay you can spell it with just okay instead of.
What a beautiful little thing.
Sometimes I text like that. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is that you can add the A in this little home, and then I'm going to bring my Y a little bit higher than normal. Let's make this like that. So it fits like that. So kind of it works both ways. Again, this is you designing and figuring out what works well for you, and that's just one thing I noticed. So that, and then let's draw this. So that is my, oh, and then 2019. So that's my thumbnail sketch. So again, this is just the designing phase, and that's how I figure it out and the layout of it. Then so from there, because this is a lot smaller than what the final, well, actually it's not a lot smaller, but it's smaller than what the final version is. You have a few options that you can do. What I did was I created a template that if you wanted to do, you can totally use. And this was something where I just created the rectangles for you so that you can add in your words. Or if you wanted to, you can totally create this on your own and you can make your own grid. This was just to help me. Maybe you just draw lines like we did in the previous project with Done is Better Than Perfect. It's up to you. I'm just gonna show using this so then you can see. So this is, you could either choose to go all the way in the same space or not. With the Y, because it has the extension of it, or that it's going down and it's a descender, you can choose to either, like I said, have it go all the way down, or I'm gonna kind of have it go a little bit. So it doesn't go all the way down, but a little bit, okay? And then let's do my S like that. And then do this. So again, you can choose to cross your T with more of a curve or straight. I'm going to just mix it up and do it straight like that, and then add in your, so with your date is you can choose, I realized that I decided to spread them out like that. And then, so another thing I wanted to mention as you're adding in your own lettering and figuring out is there's also a couple points that you can kind of look at. What I've seen a lot of people do, especially with their L's, if it's at the beginning of the letter. Again, this is not right or wrong. This is just something that I've noticed and where I've trained my eye to kind of look for is, actually you can see it here, is it's this versus this. So it's super minor. So sometimes when you have this little tail, your eye might go directly to that. So my eye can see that little tail. Whereas here, I still know that that's an L, but it doesn't have that. So that's the tiniest change that might be able to help you if you're looking at yours and you're like, maybe there's something I can change or tweak. That's definitely one option to tweak. So I have my sketch already. So now we're going to go to, what step is it? Oh, I forgot. I want to teach you. Step 3 is teaching you all different borders. So this is a fun thing. You can decorate. Maybe you want to just do stripes or you want to do polka dots, whatever you want to do. But I want to show you is an easy way to do a border like this is, let's see, I'll just do it directly on here. Draw a line, and I'm using this as my guideline so I can kind of see. It doesn't need to be exactly perfectly straight, which I will show you why it really doesn't. Is just draw a line, and then from there, and if you want, you can draw all of them. So draw. So for me, if you notice, this is just a drawing technique, is I draw better drawing towards me rather than up. I can do that, it's just a little bit easier. Some people draw better diagonal. It's all, again, personal preference. It's easier for me to pull towards me, so that's why I'm drawing like that. And then
I would have to use a ruler to draw a straight line.
Which you can totally do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also don't want you to feel like this has to be perfect, because I'll show you why. But yes, you could totally use a ruler. So there is your outline border. From there is with little leaves. So you can choose, this is a little mini drawing lesson. You can choose to have them kind of curve, or you can have them more be, I guess, like kind of like a nut. But so it's this curve line versus this. So if I want them both to curve in, I'm going like that. Or if I want it to be more like a nut, I guess that's like a nut.
Like an almond?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. But that's also, leaves look like that too. So it is this plus this equals some math here, like that, or curve plus another curve this way. So it's creating a home and connecting them. Looks like that.
You might need to bring that page down to point them in the right direction.
Should I draw it again?
If you want to, on the bottom of the page.
Okay, so I'll draw it one more time so you can see it. So it's like parentheses plus another parentheses equals a leaf that looks like that. And also you can pick, is if you want a skinny leaf, maybe it's still a parentheses, but you just draw them closer together. Or if you want more of a curve pointed, so you would draw a curve that looks more like that. I'm gonna exaggerate it, plus a curve that goes in equals, and connecting them is more like that. So really simple, don't need to go too over the top on those. So you can decide which one you want to do. And when you're doing this, you can keep a little bit of space in between, or you can draw them close together. I'm gonna draw them like that. So you can choose, maybe you want to draw them. Oh, another one that you can do is if you just want to do a little teardrop type of shape, you can also do that. But you can choose, do you want them really close together to create a shape like that? Or do you want them, I'll do it on this one. Do you want them to be a lot longer? And maybe if I had more room, which if I were to do something like that, that extended more, maybe I'd need to draw my line a little bit more over, which I'll just show you so you can get a visual. Draw that line a little bit closer so I can extend a little bit more. So if I were to draw them a lot longer, you can draw it like that. So those are a few different options. It's kind of fun to see them all together. But those are a couple options. From there, when we do go to the final one, which I'll just show you really quickly so you can see, is the reason why you don't need to focus so much on having such a straight line is there's a couple options. If you want, you can either also draw that straight line, but what you can also do is, because branches kind of move along with each other, is draw that as one shape. So I'm gonna go up and then draw that whole one and then draw the other side of it. And then start here.
Pro tip.
Yeah, so then it doesn't, it's okay. And maybe you curve it if you want. That looks a little wonky, but it totally works. So you don't have to be as perfectly straight, because if you're looking at this, it's really slight that I did that. But that way you don't feel like you have to have a perfectly straight line. So those are a couple things you can play with. So that was step 3. And then the 4th one is that we're gonna transfer how to get this design onto here. So what you can do is if you wanna do this whole thing again, and you can sketch it on here and go for it. The beauty is that we're using a black pen, so you will go over your pencil line and you won't see it. So you can do that. Another option is I wanna show you how you can use graphite paper. I'm going to cut out my shape of my journal so that you can see. Graphite paper is not something that I use all the time. Like I said, I usually use a light box, but because this journal is so thick, you will not, even with, at least I think, even with the strongest light, you won't be able to see through. So what I did was I cut that out. I'm going to use painter's tape, and you can also use any type of tape. Well, I wouldn't use Scotch tape because it might rip off your cover. So I'm taping this guy down. So this is how my steps to transfer my design, because you spent so much time designing it that you might as well just help yourself out and not start all over. Okay, and then so I have that laid down. Such a pretty taping job. Is you can figure out kind of, you can eyeball the center. I'm just gonna say it's like that. So let's add another piece of tape up here. So what's happening is graphite paper has two different sides. So there's a light side and then there's a dark side. What this is it's pretty much what I think of is it's just like a whole bunch of lead that's on there. And so if you place it face down and you trace over it, you are going to be transferring it. So
Face down meaning the dark side down, yes?
thank you for the clarification. Yes, dark side down. So when I do that and I move it, you can see how now the O is exactly where I want it to go on that one. If you don't have graphite paper, a trick is, I'll show you what you can do. Have you ever done this, Keenan?
No. What are you doing?
Magic.
What?
So I am just drawing, I'm drawing over the K. Watch. So I'm tracing over the K. Please work. Well, it didn't work as well.
Wow, but it still transferred some of it. That's cool.
So if you do that, I think what happens is if I press a lot harder on both sides, on the back and here. Yeah, that's better. You can totally see that. So that is a trick if you don't have graphite paper. Graphite paper obviously is made for a reason because it works a lot easier. But that's an option and a hack that you can do. But I'm gonna go through the rest of this and add it in. So I'm not tracing the squares or rectangles, I'm just tracing my letters. I would do it once or do a word or a couple words and make sure it's there, yeah. And it's okay that it's dark. If you don't want to do it as dark, you can just press lighter. It's because if I press really hard, it's transferring a lot of what's on the back side, the graphite. But we're gonna go over this in black. So like I said, it doesn't matter as much. So, okay, let's do this. And then the ear. Oh, well, so it's interesting. I realize this is that whole taking a step back and looking at it. Is there's the spacing in between is a little bit off, which kind of bothers me. So I'm just gonna move it over a tad bit. So if, again, you can see, if you want, you could just go and through and pencil sketch it all on its own. Might as well work smarter, not harder, and use graphite paper.
Excellent motto to live by.
So if you want, you can also transfer and do the same thing on your, or with your border. I'm going to do it just directly on it. So remove this all lightly. And I will mention, if your journal is coated, this is it's just a cardstock paper. If it's a coated journal, it might not, I can probably guarantee that it probably won't work, because if it has a coat over it, then pencil won't show up on it. So if you're wondering why it's not working for you, that might be why. So I'm sorry. But oh, you can use Sharpie and just write on it. Or a paint pen, which there's ways around it, but the technique that I'm showing you won't work. So I just want to preface that. Okay, so I'm going to draw my border. So I'm going to show the same thing. I'm going to draw my lines. So you'll notice I'm just lightly, just kind of grazing my hand. Again, you can totally use a ruler if that works better for you. No judgment at all. Okay. that, and then I like to do it directly on here, so now I can see what spacing I'm working with. I'm just gonna mimic and do the same thing that I did here so it'll look similar. So what I did was I like to do, where's my example? Oh well, I cut it out. I tend to like to do this one that has a little bit of curve and a point at the end rather than these ones. But again, whatever you would like to do. And I just add a little bit of space in between. So I'm gonna add this. When you get to the corner, you can decide, typically, and this is just a personal preference. Well, actually it works. You could have one like that. That totally works. So you can decide where you want to end and stop. So I'm just lightly adding it. Oh, actually, this is a good thing. If you saw, I was going to go all the way around in a circle, which you totally can. When I did this one, I went through the same steps and I decided that I wanted to have the vines going up. And then these ones, I had the vines going this way and this way. But if you wanted to have it in a circle, you can totally go so that your leaves are facing down. But I'm going to do the same thing and just have them going up. Then this one, I guess I'll do the same thing. So now step 5, which is your brush pen. So like I said, I decided to use for this project the Tombow Fudenosuke one rather than the Tombow brush pen, which is what we've been using in this box. You can 1000% use this and just focus on not pressing too hard. I'm just gonna use this guy because it's smaller. I like it for this project. So the same, put that up there. I'm just gonna go through. So I decided, I realized on this one, I forgot to add the curly Q of the O. So you can decide, I'm gonna add it in again. And then here's that K that I added in like that, the little home. So you will notice I am taking this stroke by stroke again. And you know what also I realized, which is actually really cool and it's a good lesson to show, is you will notice the difference between this end of this Y and this Y. Super minor, and neither is right or wrong. They just have different personalities. So it's kind of cool. I just decided, I guess on this one I felt like going up instead of down. So I'm excited to see what everyone else's looks like, but keep going. Take it stroke by stroke, thick on the down, then on the up. Here's that S that I like to do my S's like that. Line across. Okay, so C, and then an L, then an O. I'm gonna take that in one stroke because that was a really long one.
It's cool to see the graphite mark of the Y because it kind of looks like it's a 3D Y.
Oh, it does.
It's really neat.
Thanks,
Real
Kaden.
neat.
I guess you could totally leave it. Oh, I'm gonna leave that, add that little thing like that. And then the date, I realize it's kind of cool. This is bigger than this, but it's all good. Okay, so again, here's that trick that I was saying. So instead of, if you want, you can totally draw your straight line and do your same steps and add the leaves at the end, or you can add the leaves as you go, or add the vines, the connections to the leaves. So the other thing that I wanted to show is you can decide if you want to have a variance of stroke thicknesses. So I'm deciding to make the branches, right?
Yeah,
the branches.
Well, you were saying vines before.
Oh.
But it all works.
It all works, same thing. So the branches, I'm deciding to make thin. And then if you want, I realized on this one, I just pushed harder to make it thicker like that. It's all kind of personal preference, or you can decide to make it all thin.
it's good practice for the special technique.
Which is?
I always say it wrong, but I figured out how to trick myself into saying it right. Thin on the up, thick on the down.
Wait, what's the trick? Maybe it'll help people. Or not.
It's a weird trick. So in my mind, it makes more sense to put more power when you pull down.
Yeah. Wait, that's gonna help someone.
Maybe. We'll
power
see.
on the
We'll
down.
see.
Strong on the down.
Power on the down.
Thin on the up, thick on the down. Thin on the up, power on the down. I love it.
Power on the down.
So I realized on this one, which is super minor, is I'm just gonna leave it. I was gonna say there's this weird corner that I don't wanna add another line. Well, maybe I do at the end. I don't know. They also don't have to connect, but I'm gonna keep going. So then on the up. So you can decide again, like I said. The other, and if you want to be more technical, you can measure it out, but I want you to have the freedom to express yourself. So I realized, like I was saying there, is I'm just gonna leave it. I like it. Okay. And maybe this doesn't connect. Oh, runaway pencil. Okay. I'll just add one right there. There we go. So the final step is, if you want, like Keenan said, maybe you leave the lines and it has that little personality, or you can erase it. I'm trying to think if I should wait. I would highly suggest waiting at least another 10 minutes just to triple make sure that it dries and you don't smear. But I'm gonna lightly do it just so we can, oh yeah, we're good. We're good. I still would do it really lightly. But this is why, I think I said this in this video already. If I didn't, that's why I love this eraser, because it works really, really well. The only thing is you get all these little fun shavings, which I'll clean up at the end. But lightly, you don't press too hard, because you also don't want to pick up a lot of the paper, just in case you don't want to rub into it. Okay, I won't do the whole thing, but I just want to show you that this is how you create your own journal.
So cool.
Yay! So fun. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you feel empowered to create on your own and it's not as intimidating. Those are all the steps. Again, work smarter, not harder, so that you can figure it out and you're not just freehanding it. I want to see what you guys create. So we have a couple groups, or a couple different ways that you can connect with us. We have an Instagram that's called Let's Go Make Art. And then we have a Facebook group. There's a lettering Facebook group that's called Let's Make Art Lettering. And in there, share this, post what you make. We would love to see and continue to learn and grow together. Again, if you want these supplies and you're not a part of our box, we have that you can get. We have this as an individual kit. Either way, just have fun and keep learning and growing and sharing your lettering with everyone else. Thank you, everyone.